This is my good old friend Justin, and he taught at a Hagwon over 10 years ago in Busan. And he's going to tell us a story about a tough guy that he had to deal with at his Hagwon.
When I first came to Korea, I didn't look this way. No, Korea is a great country. Don't get me wrong. I love Korea. I've been here for 12 years. That's why I've stayed. And it's not because of my first and only Hagwon experience 12 years ago, because that sucked. I was only at my Hagwon for 3 months. I knew something was off the moment I got there, but I showed up in Korea with about $300 in the world and no return ticket to anywhere. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna put up with it for as long as I can to get at least one paycheck. Now, you'd think getting a paycheck would be easy, but it wasn't. Money disappeared a lot. Oh, well, we have the airline fee we didn't tell you about. You didn't see that in your contract? No, I don't recall seeing that in my contract. Well, that's okay. The contract's in English, and that doesn't legally count in Korea anyway. Oh, good. I had to fight with the owner of the Hagwon a lot. He was what in Korean would probably be termed gangpae, loosely translated gangster. Rumor was, I found out later on, that he had to leave the country at one point because he was a minor governmental official who had embezzled money. I don't know if that's true, but I like to think that it was, and it certainly fit his character. He was about 6 foot tall. He really liked to play the petty tyrant. He liked to bully people. And he pushed around everybody that worked at that place, especially when it came to money. He just took money from everybody's paycheck. Well, when my first paycheck showed up and I was missing 50% of what he owed me, I was proactive. And I went to his office and I said, hey, what do you think you're doing with my money? And he tried to be a tough guy with me, and I'm 6'2". And I've spent long enough in New York and cities like Beijing and Calcutta, and, I'm not intimidated by an owner of a Hagwon. And he knew it. He didn't learn that until later, when, after 3 months of him continually trying to rip me off, along with everybody who we worked with, he finally fired me. Right on the spot. He said, listen, I need you to do this extra work. I think it was moving furniture. And I was just like, no, I'm not coming in on Saturday to move furniture. It's like, well, you're fired. And I'm like, well, the contract says you have to give me 4 weeks notice or pay me 1 month extra penalty. And he laughed. And I was like, and I laughed because I thought I had legal recourse at that point. Interesting note, after he fired me 5 minutes later, he said, okay, now that you're fired, I'd like to talk to you about hiring you again. And I was like, the f*** are you smoking? And then he went on to say, and you know what? We could totally get money from the National Pension Service if you lie to them about the amount of money that I paid or that you paid. And I'm just like, does this work on other people? Apparently it did, because he had a very comfortable lifestyle. I stood up and I was like, no. And he got uppity. So he stood up and he was like, yeah, you got a problem? And I went, yeah, let's do this. And apparently nobody had basically called his bluff. And I was like, yeah, you want to fight? I'll do it right here with you right now. Well, he was immediately distracted by something important, but he assured me that, there was going to be hell to pay later. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And I left, and I talked with some of my connections in the Korean community that I had made through my students. And I said, I'd like to contact a lawyer or something. And they went, lawyer, huh? That's good. No, you're a Weiguging. You're a foreigner. You have no legal recourse. Yeah, there are laws, but it's not enforced. All of the laws are in favor of the Hagwon owner. And the contract that you're signing, by the way, if you're looking at this video to sign a contract, I don't want to scare you, but even if there's Korean language on there, a lot of times that's not legally binding. It's not an actual contract. And English language, that's meaningless in Korea. And even if you had a contract, you're still going to probably lose because they're going to countersue you. Being a foreigner, you're screwed. But Ahjumma power. An Ahjumma, loosely defined as an older Korean woman, usually one who's had kids. In Korea, you're going to realize eventually that when an older Korean woman, usually with kids, decides that she's pissed off and wants to exact change, change will be exacted. Korean men are terrified of organized Ahjumma power because Ahjummas are relentless. They are patient. They are incredibly well connected through the gossip network. One of the Ahjummas that I had made contact with, I told her about this, and she's like, yeah, you can't get a lawyer, but I've got a plan. Let me talk with him. And I was like, you sure you want to get involved in this? Like, oh yeah, I don't like this thing that he is doing. So we put on the Mission Impossible music, went to a Starbucks coffee shop, and all sat down and acted polite. And he put on this game face, which was, how he manipulated people usually. And of course, she was an Ahjumma, so she was completely unimpressed. And he was like, yes, well, he violated the contract this way and that way. And she said, well, no, he didn't. And we both know that. And you fired him against the contract. And we both know that even though legally he can't do anything, you owe him money. So why don't you just go ahead and pay him the money? And he was like, well, I can't do that. And she's like, well, I can tell everyone that I know what you've done. And he got very quiet because she basically pulled out a gun and pointed it at him at that point. I'll tell everybody, because in Korea, that's the fastest way to die. Once the gossip is out, especially if you're a business owner, man, you're in trouble. And he knew it. And he said, well, I'm going to need a little time to talk to my accountant or some sort of, he prevaricated, right? He came up with some and she's like, listen, you can either pay this guy what you owe him, which was 3 months of a payment because there was a penalty and he hadn't paid me for the last month or this month. So she's like, you give him all of that money and we'll walk out of here and we won't talk about it. And he was seething. And it was so nice to see him so angry with a smile on his face because he knew he was f***ed. He transferred money into my bank account and the Ahjumma that I was with said, we'll wait to make sure that it's in his account. And he was seething again in the fake smile. No politician could fake smile better than this man. His eyes like two coals burning with hatred. And it was so very Mission Impossible because her daughter gave her a call on the phone. It's like, yes, the money's been transferred. And she's like, it's in. And we got up, shook hands. He said, I hope you come to my school again. He actually tried to hire me the third time. And at that point, I was like, no. And luckily, I ended up having a position. I got a position at a university. And that has its own trials and tribulations, but you get paid when you're at a national university. And that was 12 years ago. Korea is not America. Don't expect things to be the way you grew up with them. That's why you're traveling, though. Just be aware. You're going to meet some characters out there who are going to try and take advantage of you, and there are ways around that. And it's actually kind of fun because years later you can tell somebody the story and put it on YouTube. I mean, I don't want to get too meta here, but maybe one day I can do that. So, this is Justin Farrell, signing off with awkward eye contact and long pauses.
Thanks for watching Topic Tuesday today. That was Justin Farrell telling his Hagwon horror story. And he's in a local band, actually. It's called Ongi Jongi. He's in a band with my roommate, actually. And I'm going to link a video of their musical performance that I made. I'm also going to link their YouTube channel. So why don't you check those out. Next week, I'm going to be telling my story about my Hagwon horror story. I know I told you that last week, but for real, I'm gonna do it next week. So please subscribe if you like these videos. I'm gonna make some more, and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.